The government of Greenland is working to protect the Greenland we know and the fundamental opportunities that have been built. Greenland is our children's heritage and can neither be bought nor sold. We are part of the kingdom.
In the frozen heart of the Arctic, a quiet but consequential standoff is unfolding. Greenland's prime minister is now demanding answers and results from Washington. Speaking as Greenland's parliament opened a new session, Prime Minister Jens-Frederik Nielsen made it clear, talks with the United States are underway, but symbolism is no longer enough. What Greenland wants now are concrete outcomes. Behind the diplomatic language, Greenland's leadership remains wary. Nielsen warned that despite ruling out military force, Washington still fundamentally seeks control over the island, citing what he described as continued American efforts to find paths to ownership and control. Greenland, he stressed, is not for sale, nor can it be bought.
The dialogue has begun, and the Greenlandic government, Nalak ger Suisut, will work with determination to bring it to concrete results. At the same time, we will continue to strengthen the close dialogue with Western countries together with Denmark and work for even closer cooperation with the EU. The government of Greenland is working to protect the Greenland we know and the fundamental opportunities that have been built. Greenland is our children's heritage and can neither be bought nor sold. We are part of the kingdom. We are not alone, and we are protected. All EU countries support us. When the threats began at the beginning of the year, European NATO countries and state leaders responded immediately with statements of support.
The trilateral talks, involving Greenland, Denmark, and the United States, started after U.S. President Donald Trump stepped back from earlier threats to seize the strategically vital Arctic island. A first working-level meeting in Washington was described as constructive, with more discussions planned. Yet officials admit little has actually been resolved. Trump's renewed interest in Greenland, driven by U.S. security concerns over Russia and China, has rattled the transatlantic alliance, triggering one of NATO's most serious internal crises in years. While Trump claims he has secured broad U.S. access through a NATO framework deal, both Denmark and Greenland insist there will be no transfer of sovereignty. But the political strain is taking a human toll. Greenland's government has launched a mental health survey amid what it calls extraordinary pressure. Nielsen says anxiety is spreading across the population, affecting sleep, families, and even children, as uncertainty hangs over the island's future. This is completely unacceptable, he said. From Moscow, Russia is pushing back against the very premise of the crisis. Senior Russian official Dmitry Medvedev dismissed Western warnings about Russian or Chinese threats to Greenland as fabricated horror stories, accusing Western leaders of exaggeration to justify their own actions. He warned the standoff risks further fracturing Atlantic unity, though he suggested a calmer outcome is still possible.
There can be no other way to characterize this situation. We have, in fact, already provided a description previously other than to state that this represents a catastrophe within the realm of international law and international relations. Irrespective of our perspective on international law, or how we might critique the many disregarded rules, norms, customs, or even the institutions responsible for its application, we universally acknowledge its existence. However, the events concerning Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro represent a clear and undeniable violation of every established norm within international law. However, the United States government presents its own specific argument, which in my personal opinion is completely and utterly untenable from a strictly legal standpoint. Although naturally, a very significant portion of the current ruling party in the United States supports such aggressive actions, specifically Maduro's capture.
This is the case, even though, based on what I have been reading, there are some very heated debates currently taking place within the Senate. For instance, how would the United States react if President Donald Trump himself had been kidnapped?
The response they provided was completely and entirely unequivocal. It would be viewed as a direct act of war, not just a justification for conflict, but a literal act of war. Even the American people themselves are questioning this, and a senator, if I recall correctly, asked, "Well, why is the situation so different here then?" Broadly speaking, this is without a doubt a deeply tragic and very unfortunate development for the current state of international relations. We truly and sincerely view Venezuela as a very friendly and close partner. We are actively building our relations with them. That is Medvedev, in short. I had the opportunity to visit Venezuela back when Hugo Chavez was still serving as its president. It's a truly complex nation, grappling with its own inherent contradictions, yet it possesses immense natural wealth and desperately requires proper, stable governance. And frankly, such overt colonial tendencies directed towards a sovereign nation are naturally quite astonishing to us, especially given that journalists are listening intently. However, I won't spend any more time discussing the topic of Greenland. Our president, Vladimir Putin, recently stated quite clearly that this particular issue is truly none of our concern. He suggested that the US and the Europeans, with Medvedev in shot, should simply sort it out themselves. However, this incident itself is truly quite curious indeed. Nothing quite like this has occurred in recent decades, at the very least, and yet, astonishingly, it is happening right now. This truly poses a very serious challenge to Atlantic unity. We can certainly understand the various reasons President Trump puts forward to explain his actions, but it's also quite clear that some of these justifications, frankly, are completely baseless and lack any real evidence. This so-called threat, supposedly emanating from both Russia and the People's Republic of China, is in reality just a dramatic and exaggerated horror story that they constantly employ to justify their own controversial behavior.
For now, crisis diplomacy continues. Greenland says it is open to dialogue, but firm on its red lines. As global powers circle the Arctic, the message from Nuuk is unmistakable. Greenland's future will be decided by Greenlanders and no one else.
Times of India videos, your daily dose of India and the world. Global news, different views, and sharp analysis.
Pressure of expectation from your fans, your supporters.
That has often served as a backdrop for several Bollywood.
You're not a brute majority anymore. If you individually take out play, right?
Making sense of global conflicts. Tracking the new emerging world order.
Strike on Israeli military bases.
A multi-pronged.
To stay out of harm's way as Israel started bombing targets across.
Understanding changing alliances in a polarized world. Tune into TOI videos for all this and more. Click on the bell icon to subscribe and never miss an update.